Welcome to Keep Rolling, and today we're going to be talking about the Rollerblade RB80 Cruiser. Now, this is a sort of budget price point, entry-level skate targeted at beginners and suitable for recreational and urban skating too. The question I'm setting out to answer today is, does this skate offer value for money, and is this good for beginners? Overall, I think this is a great skate, but I think that it does have one major drawback that I'll be talking about a bit more towards the end of the video. So to get my insights into this setup, be sure to stick around. So I just want to kick things off by just giving an overview of the skate. So it comes with the Rollerblade Performance Liner, featuring this sort of crazy 90s sofa pattern interior. It's a plastic shell, nice and wide fitting, with sort of multiple vents down the side, at the back there, and also underneath the boot as well, which do add a bit of ventilation, but also just help to reduce the overall weight of the shell too. In terms of points of attachment, you've got the buckle around the ankle there, which is adjustable, 45-degree strap, and also the laces just help to kind of suck it into your foot as you tighten them as well. Cuff is riveted to the boot. And in terms of the frames, so there seems to be a variation depending on where you ordered them from. I've ordered a couple of pairs of these. I ordered them in the 10-11 and also the 12-13 just to get the right fit. The pair that I ordered directly from Rollerblade came with the higher grade frames, which are made of a thicker aluminium and feature the race axles that just come like through one side. Whereas the ones that I bought from a skate shop in the UK, they featured the sort of thinner aluminium frames with the two-way bolts, kind of lower grade quality hardware as well. So there does seem to, like I say, be a bit of variation in what frame that these come with depending on where you order them from. And as standard, they come with the Rollerblade stock wheels with the plastic hubs and the SG7 bearings. In terms of sort of inside the shell, you've got the shock absorber there, which is attached really securely kind of to the shell, locking it nicely in place. In terms of the fit, I would definitely say that this is a wide fitting skate. I myself have got quite wide feet, so this is perfect for me. But if you do have particularly narrow feet, then I might look at something else in the Rollerblade line, such as the Twister Edge, which I do know fit a little bit narrower than this. I think the wide fit is helped by kind of the extra width that you get from the cutouts here as well. And in my experience, I would say that these fit one size small, but remember that is a little bit subjective. I take a UK 10 to 11 shoe, and I've had a few different sizes in this to find kind of the right one for me. And the 11 fits me, whereas usually I'd kind of be more like a 10, 10 and a half. The 12 to 13 I found pretty big. There are some which are individual shell sizing, where there's just one size shell for that break, but there are some of them like the 12 to 13 which I know are sort of split sizing, so that you get the 12 to 13 shell, but they just change the size of the liner depending on what size that you order. So try them on kind of if you can, but I would say overall this is a wide fitting skate, and I think it comes up a little bit small. In terms of the overall feel of the skate, I think this skate feels great when you're rolling around. When you first put it on, you'll feel that the shell is really nice and supportive. I think that the height is about right, for these kinds of size of wheels, and that riveted cuff just feels really nice and secure and supportive around your ankle as well. The liner, generally pretty comfortable. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the liner a little bit later on in the video. Your foot will be nice and secure, nicely locked in place with the ankle strap and 45-degree strap. And I feel like you get really good power transfer in this skate because it's mounted to the bottom of the boot with metal 165 mounts in the bottom of there, really big chunky screw which screws directly into a metal plate, which is like integrated into the plastic in the bottom. So you feel like you keep your speed really nicely when you're rolling around. The wheels themselves, they felt really fast. They are kind of, the budget entry-level wheel, but I felt that they were perfectly good when I was skating them. Didn't have any problems. Bearings feel really fast, and overall, this is a really nice skate straight out of the box when you first put it on. So I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into more of the individual components of this skate now. So in terms of the shell, like I said, it feels really supportive. Feels great. You're held really nicely in place by these buckles. and the laces just help to kind of pull your foot in there as well. Some drawbacks that I did find is I found that fairly quickly that these laces did kind of start to shred on the kind of insides of these rivets, so they're maybe a little bit sharp, so I have had to replace them a couple of times. I definitely had to replace them on this older skate that I had in the 110, just because I got a bit of kind of rust come up and it just started to disintegrate the laces. It features the shell features these sort of plates here which help just to kind of take the sort of shred away from the shell when you do fall. So this part is obviously replaceable and will take kind of most of the impacts and the scrape when you do fall over. And it feels really light as well, definitely something I should mention, but I think partly helped by the cutouts in the side there. But one thing I did notice, I don't know if this is a side effect of having these cutouts in the shell, is that on bumpier ground I did feel that there was a little bit more vibration than I was used to in a kind of solider shell that doesn't have any ventilation down the side. But overall, really happy with the main structure of this skate. In terms of the frames, I mentioned earlier about the two different frames that I've had this skate come with, so I'm going to talk about them both, because I think that if you do get it with the entry-level frame, you may want to upgrade, to the higher grade frame in the future. So I think it's relevant, and also you may find that your skate comes with one or the other, so maybe best just to check which one you will be getting before you do order. So in terms of the frame that does come with the skate, I don't have one because I sent that particular skate back. I had some brief experience skating it, and basically it is very similar to this one. It's an aluminium frame. It's thinner than this one to start with, and the hardware is not as good quality. Whereas these kind of axles, the Allen key goes in there quite deep and quite secure. The hardware just didn't feel as good quality. The bolt kind of inlet was a bit shallower and felt like with kind of heavy use you might find that it would round off with time. But it mounted really nice and securely. It felt quite solid. The difference that I felt is that it's just, because it's thinner, it's just much flexier than this thicker one. And I think that you notice a marginal difference in terms of how much power transfer that you get, and it didn't feel quite kind of as solid when I was turning. It just felt a little bit flexier than this one. So this is the higher grade frame that I've got on here. It is thicker. It is available as an aftermarket option from shops like Loco Skates. And it features the race axles, which just kind of go through one side and then receive directly into the opposite side of the frame, which is nice, means you can just use one Allen key when you're making any adjustments to it. And I think it would just last a bit longer, but I think whichever one you get, I think they're a great frame for beginners. And if you do get the low grade one, I think that you've definitely got that option to do the upgrade later on down the line if you're finding that you want that kind of solider feel and the better transfer that the higher grade frame offers. In terms of the length, it's 243 millimeters for both frames, so that's quite a short frame if you do have larger feet, like kind of UK 10 and upwards. But I think the short frame is quite fun. It means that you can turn kind of really sharply, really kind of precisely. Becomes a little bit more unstable at the higher speeds. But overall, it's a really fun frame, really kind of short, sharp, precise turns, and it made a nice change from the longer frames that I have been skating in the past. So let's talk a little bit about the wheels and the bearings now. So these are the wheels that the skate comes with, the standard stock rollerblade wheels. The higher grade skates like the Rollerblade RB Pro come with the Rollerblade Supreme wheels, and the higher grade ones like the Pro skates come with the hydrogen wheels. To be honest though, I think that these wheels, they felt great, and I didn't have any complaints on the few sessions that I experienced them. I skated them long enough to kind of wear the shiny plastic off the wheels. I found that they were fast, I found they were responsive, I found they were nice and grippy. The 80mm wheel size is really fun, and the 85 hardness I think is really nice. It kind of gives you a little bit more control because it's like a softer wheel, but also and a bit more grip, but also will give if you want to learn things like slides, like power slides, parallel slides later on down the line. The only thing I would anticipate with this wheel versus a higher grade wheel is that you probably find that it wear down a little bit more quickly, and the plastic kind of hubs on there probably not kind of as good a power transfer as you might get with a metal core wheel. But really, I don't have any major criticisms of this wheel. I think it's fantastic urethane, and I think it's perfectly good. I just happen to have these revolver wheels, which you know, I had and I wanted to try, but I can't really notice, you know, much of a difference between the two. In terms of the bearings, I'm not really someone that places a huge amount of emphasis on bearings. If I'm honest, I tend to skate them and then I throw them away and I buy a new set. So I never really buy expensive bearings, but yeah, they're fast, they're bearings, they roll, they're good. You know, I'm sure you'll probably get, you know, a faster ride from more expensive ceramic bearings, but to be honest, the leg strength and your fitness is going to be one of the things that makes, you know, a big difference. But yeah, they were great. I've got no criticism with bearings. Avex 7 is more than enough for me. So on to the liners now. And this is where I think that this skate starts to show its budget price point. There's nothing wrong with this liner. I think it looks pretty well made considering, you know, the price point of the skate, £150. You know, it's quite a dense material. It's supportive. You know, it's not overly flexy. And it's generally pretty comfortable. The material inside is a little bit rough, so if it does kind of touch your bare skin, I found that it did feel a little bit kind of abrasive. The higher grade skates, they come with the high performance liner, and the only difference I can really find is that you get a slightly like a softer material inside, which is a little bit more comfortable, but other than that, it's basically the same liner. My criticism is, and this applies to both liners, is that as soon as you lean forwards, there's nothing that's really like holding the tongue in place. So I just find that there's just too much forward flex and that the ankle strap doesn't kind of sufficiently hold it there as much as I want it to, regardless of how much you tighten it up. I think that just kind of overall reduces the you know, the amount of power transfer you get, which is otherwise really good. But I just find that forward flex just means that, you know, overall it's just not feeling quite as nice, it's not feeling quite as comfortable. But I think that if you don't have, you know, a lot of points of comparison, I don't think this is something you're going to notice. It's a completely comfortable liner and it's not going to cause you any problems. I upgraded my liner to one that I already had, which is the Intuition. I don't think it's really relevant to talk about this liner in this review because this liner costs about as much as this entire skate. That's what kind of I chose to upgrade to and turn this into kind of, you know, more of a high-end skate. But otherwise, I've kept it pretty similar to how it comes out of the box. But I think the liner, basically, the stock liner, you know, whether you get the high performance one or the performance one, I think is what lets this down. So let's just dive into some pros and some cons before we can draw some conclusions about this skate. So in terms of the first pro, I think that you do get good value for money with this skate. £150, you get a lot for your money. And I think the only real area that it shows its budget price point is the liner and to some extent the lower grade frame that some of the skates that you will order in this range of cruiser will come with. Another pro is the aesthetic. I think overall this skate looks really nice and has a really good look down. And a third pro is the nice kind of wide fit on there with the great solid points of attachment, buckles, 45-degree strap and laces. Furthermore, you're getting a really good solid mounting system with those metal plates nicely locked into the bottom of the boot. Gives really good power transfer, which is helped further by the really good quality wheels and bearings that come with this skate as well. In terms of the cons, I think in terms of the aesthetic, there are some elements of it that are a little bit messy, but again, that's kind of, you know, really subjective overall. The biggest drawback, like I mentioned, I think is there's too much forward flex in that liner, but I don't think that that's a massive drawback for beginners if you don't have much of a point of reference when it comes to liners. Also, one of the things that lets it down with the kind of the skate that comes with a lower grade frame is that it is a little bit thin, which makes it a little bit more flexy, and the hardware is not as good quality as it could be. Also, that it's kind of the fit I found a little bit inaccurate. I found it fitted a little bit small for me. again, that's quite a subjective thing. And finally, that if you do get this skate, for example, in the 12, the UK 12, so it's the 12 to 13 shell with a different size liner, I found that in the 12 there was too much room for that liner within the shell and that it felt a little bit sloppy. So if I had been keeping that size, I think that I would have found, again, that it just ended up feeling a little bit sloppy and kind of had quite a lot of reduced power transfer in some of the sizes. So again, just try the skate on if you can. So in conclusion, I think overall this is a fantastic skate. I think at £150 you're getting a lot of rollerblade for your money. I think this is definitely something that you could look to get as a beginner and would be perfectly sufficient to be able to master the basics, with the option to be able to upgrade parts as and when you needed to if you were needing a bit more performance from this skate. So I hope you've got some value from my insights in this review. Be sure to give a thumbs up if you did, and leave me a comment if you have any questions about this skate or if you have any insights that you want to share. I'm Chris Chadwick, and this is Keep Rolling. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.